Have so much. We have a potpourri of topics you could talk about this morning. But why don't we start with this lunacy? Donald Trump is so anti-immigrant, and yet, and I say this as a positive, immigrants have had such a huge impact on his life. Whether you're talking about his mother, whether you're talking about Ivana, whether you're talking about Melania, whether you're talking about 4 of his children. And again, I see this as a very positive thing. Why is it that he talks about the poisoning of the blood of America?
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous. In fact, I'm also the son of an immigrant. My mother is an immigrant, a war bride, coming to the United States after the Second World War. We are all sons and daughters of immigrants, unless we have Native American roots. It is the very essence of what has made this country great, that folks come here to live their version of the American dream. They work hard, they raise families. It is in my mind, it is the strength of our country. So to have Donald Trump attacking that is absolutely outrageous. We have to make sure people are hearing his own words, what he says, and understand that he's attacking their family heritage, and they need to reject it.
And by the way, when Donald Trump talks about mass deportation and everybody's cheering in the audience, you know, Rev, I've said it time and again. I'm very tough on the border. I want people in America that come to America legally that are fair to immigrants from all over the world that can't just walk across the border, that have to work for years to become American citizens. That said, when he talks about mass deportation, he's talking about people who have been here for 10, 12, 13, 14 years, never broken the law, have contributed to this country, are helping keeping family businesses, family restaurants, hardware stores open. I mean, I don't know if the crowd understands what they're cheering for, but what they're cheering for is something that would definitely harm our economy greatly.
Greatly harm our economy. Many communities, most of the jobs comes from small businesses, some of which, and in some cases, most of which comes from these people that have been here 10, 15 years trying to be part of America. And I think what really is troubling or really confusing to me, Senator Peters, is that the Democratic Party, in order to really run an effective campaign, needs to really make it clear to a lot of the Latino community. There's a strong outreach by the president that this is as basic racist as you can get. When we talk about racism, you're not just talking about blacks. When he's talking about poisoning the blood of America, he's talking about people from South America, Mexico, Latinos. What efforts are being made to really go into those communities, not just to the so-called progressive sides of those communities who I may work with, but the churches in the Latino community, the community centers where a lot of them are, to understand he's calling you poison. He wants to deport you, and we may have differences on some aspects of foreign policy, but there's no one anywhere near Joe Biden's presidency that thinks you're poison.
Absolutely right. And we need to make sure that folks in those communities hear Donald Trump's words. It's him speaking. It's not us saying this is what he stands for. You can hear it directly. And as we go into those communities and talk about why it's important to vote, why it's important to get engaged to those citizens in those communities, part of it is how do we build economic development? How do we provide business opportunities? To Joe's point, immigrants are some of the hardest working people that you will ever meet. They have already overcome often significant obstacles to get here legally. They work hard. They want to start businesses. They want to be able to hire other folks. They are so important to our economy. And as Democrats, we understand that. We welcome them. And we're going to make sure that they have the opportunity to live their version of the American dream and contribute to our society.
Senator Peters, hi. It's great to see you. I was curious, Trump, this is a very tough map for Democrats, right? There's a lot of seats to defend. Trump tends to pick candidates that do very well in primaries and do very badly in generals, or at least run a few points behind. Have any of these Trumpy candidates opened the map up for Democrats? And also, another part of this, do you think Texas is possible? We were talking about this before, and we all want to know about Texas.
I do, but let me take your first point, if I may, about opening up seats and making them more competitive. You know, if you look at how we won last cycle, we made history. We held the Senate, we expanded it, and one of the main reasons for that is, first off, we had better candidates, better incumbents. They were superior to who they were running against. And the reason for that, and why we could create these contrasts, is oftentimes they were in very spirited Republican primaries. The most extreme candidate got out of that primary, usually with Donald Trump's support. We just saw that in Ohio with the primary this week. We have a very extreme candidate that's going to really show a very clear contrast between Sherrod Brown in Ohio and Bernie Moreno. You know, here's Sherrod Brown, a champion for working men and women in Ohio, versus Moreno, who refused to pay overtime to his employees. They had to sue him, and then he destroyed evidence to try to get out of it. He is all about himself versus Sherrod Brown, who has been fighting his entire life for more working men and women. It's that kind of contrast, that clear contrast, that will show voters that it is much easier to make a choice and to vote for Sherrod Brown. I'm confident he's going to win. It's one of our top races we have to win. And now with this kind of matchup, that will certainly, I think, allow Sherrod Brown to do even better in Ohio. In terms of Texas, we have a real opportunity there. Colin Allred is a strong candidate. He won decisively a primary. He is a man who was able to win a tough seat in the Dallas area, beating an entrenched Republican. He knows how to win. He's running against a incumbent there in Ted Cruz, whose numbers are very weak in the polling. His unfavorabilities are very high. And Colin is out there working. He's got a background not only as a successful in the private sector, also a former professional football player. He's got a great biography of a multi-generation family in Texas that allowed him to be successful by working very hard. It's the kind of example people in Texas like. They'll see that he is fighting for them as opposed to the incumbent who has shown time and time again to be on other agendas, and those agendas often do not include what's best for people in Texas.